Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. The next meeting is the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, which I will chair unless the Vice Chair has connectivity. Okay. Today's meeting of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is being held in public session in its entirety. At this point, I ask the Board Secretary to advise those present of the composition of this committee, and please let us know of any recusals.
The committee is composed of Vice Chairman Linford, the committee chair, Chairman O'Toole, the committee vice chair, and Commissioners LaBarbera, Pacino, Rosado. All committee members are participating with the exception of Vice Chairman Linford. In addition, Commissioners Cohen, Eve, Horowitz, McCabe, Martinotti, Menendez, and Richardson are also present.
Thank you. I now call upon our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, to present an item concerning a new lease on John F. Kennedy International Airport in connection with the redevelopment of Terminal 6. This item also authorizes Port Authority funding of related enabling infrastructure to support the new Terminal 6. Derek?
Great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you, Chairman. I am here today to seek your approval to enter into a lease agreement with JFK Millennium Partners, which is a consortium of 3 financial partners plus JetBlue, to build a major new world-class terminal at JFK Airport. This would be a $3.9 billion investment by the private parties to build a 1.2 million square foot terminal. It would be built on the sites of the existing Terminal 7, which would be demolished after British Airways moves to Terminal 8, and the vacant Terminal 6 site. And it would be seamlessly connected to the existing Terminal 5, which is operated by JetBlue. This is a very important milestone in our path to deliver on the Governor's vision to modernize JFK Airport into a 21st century facility. In October of 2018, the board authorized exclusive negotiations for a new terminal on the north side of JFK. However, just months prior to closing and starting construction in 2020, COVID-19 hit and derailed the deal we had negotiated. We have now restructured that agreement through extensive negotiations and with key support from an extension of the Port Authority's underlying lease with New York City, which was announced last February. And critically, this preserves significant private investment at the airport. So how did COVID-19 derail the prior deal? First, the terminal operators collect fees from airlines and generate concession revenue entirely based on passenger traffic. And so therefore, lower traffic and uncertain timing of the recovery impacted their revenue projections. Second, given the fixed lease date ending, which was in 2050, now it's 2060, a delay in the project made it infeasible to recover sufficient revenue to pay for the private investment to build a new terminal. Therefore, extensive negotiations centered around an extension of the airport lease with New York City, which allowed us to provide an additional 10 years to the developers, a reconfiguration of gates, modifying and improving the road frontage, and when negotiated modest changes to the terminal design. So just a few key highlights of the project. As I mentioned, 1.2 million square feet, which is larger than the existing Terminal 5 and more than 2 times the size of the existing Terminal 7. 10 passenger gates with shorter walking distances, and the project is expected to be completed in the second quarter of 2027, with the first gates opening in the second quarter of 2025. The lease term for both the construction and the operating periods goes through 2060. The financial partners I referenced, 3 of them: Vantage Airport Group, which currently operates LaGuardia's Terminal B; American Triple I, which is an MWBE investor group; RXR Realty, which is a New York-based developer; and as I mentioned, JetBlue. And JetBlue will take gates in this new terminal. This is a $3.9 billion investment financed entirely by the private investors. Today, we are also seeking an incremental investment of $130 million for the supporting infrastructure work. So this is the airfield work and the utility work. And that's already part of the $2.9 billion within our JFK redevelopment program budget that's in our 10-year capital plan. So just a bird's eye view of the new terminal. As I said, this new Terminal 6 will be about a third of the size larger than the existing Terminal 5. And it's built on the existing Terminal 6 site, the Terminal 6 was demolished in 2011. It's now just a vacant site. And the Terminal 7 site, which is currently Terminal 7 is about 52 years old. And so, as I said, that will be torn down when British Airways moves into Terminal 8 at the end of 2022, early 2023. This is an aerial view of the terminal. And I'll just run through a couple of other views of the new terminal. So sustainability, been a key focus of our negotiations. So JMP has committed to a series of industry-leading best practices, including infrastructure to support all electric ground support equipment, which is a major factor in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions at the airport, automated and optimized lighting and building controls, aircraft de-icing and fluid recovery, and stormwater capture and reuse. We've also focused on cutting-edge technology, so the new terminal will emphasize these: touchless passenger journeys, self-service baggage check-in and bag drop, next-generation super-fast wireless systems, and digital tools to enhance the customer experience. Security. New Terminal 6 will have state-of-the-art security systems, including biometric-based access controls, advanced video analytics, and automated TSA security lines. So MWBE and community development have been really a fundamental part of the redevelopment program. So we've developed a series of major initiatives to support community development in partnership with the local community. So we developed something called the JFK Redevelopment Community Advisory Council, chaired by Congressman Gregory Meeks and Borough President Donovan Richards. And this group is composed of 45 elected and community leaders. JMP is committed to our 30% MWBE target, but not only for the overall program, for each of the individual subsets of activities. So design work, construction work, operations and maintenance, and financing. And so each of those categories must meet a 30% target through good faith efforts. We will also work to maximize local business opportunities, both in Queens and the adjacent communities, the zip codes right around the airport, to ensure that there's business opportunities for very local firms. The Advisory Council has focused their efforts, in addition, on local hiring and workforce development, K through 12 educational programs, and environmental stewardship initiatives, all of which JMP has agreed to jointly help fund. Lastly, the project's expected to result in over 4,000 direct jobs with a focus on local hiring. So in terms of timing, today we're seeking board approval to enter into the lease agreement with JMP. We would expect to reach financial close in the first half of 2022. Construction would start in mid-2022, first gates opening in 2025, and all of the gates would be open by 2027. So just to conclude, today we're requesting the board provide authorization to enter into this lease agreement with JMP to build, finance, operate, and maintain this new terminal, and to release an incremental $130 million out of the $2.9 billion in our budget to spend on enabling infrastructure to support the project. So thank you, commissioners, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Derek. This is in terms of the Port Authority. This is a gargantuan deal. It's been worked on by the executive director and his top staff for over 3 years. There has been fits and starts, and this has been a long time coming. And given the pandemic and other issues, it is I wouldn't say miracle, but a work of art by the Port Authority in total that we're having this discussion here today. When you talk about the numbers of an investment of $3.9 billion, you talk about revenues of $5 billion being realized by the Port Authority, an investment of $130 million, which is part of the original capital. You talk about the creation of 4,000 jobs. You talk about 30% of participation from the locals, particularly within Queens and within certain segments in Queens. It is astonishing. So to every person in the Port Authority, every department, whether it be finance or purchasing or engineering or capital projects or GoCore and legal and on, it is astonishing that we're here. And again, as I stated before in the executive, I want to say a special congratulations. This is a real special one, Rick. You've been at this for 3 years. Astonishing effort by you and your senior staff of putting it all together. I look forward to us rolling this thing out together in 2027 as this thing unfolds. This is a big one. Rick, anything you want to add to that?
I think first of all, thank you for your comments, Mr. Chairman, and I would just echo what you just said, which was this was an extraordinary team effort within the Port Authority, virtually every department being critical to moving it forward, a team effort on this is a public-private partnership. Private partners came to the table. We worked through issues, the pandemic and the financial damage done to the Port Authority on the one hand, to air travel on the other. This was a major effort. Community leaders, I would single out Congressman Meeks and Borough President Donovan. I would single out the City of New York, which also negotiated an emergency 10-year extension of the lease so that we could in turn provide a lease extension to the private partners. The governor's original vision is what animated the entire effort, and it is really a pleasure to be here today proposing this to the board.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners? I know we went out at this at the executive. Anybody else want to add anything or any comments? If not, we'd like to have a motion from a committee member who is not recused, so we can move this forward.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I approve this, moving this monumental project as you described.
Thank you, Commissioner Sino. Second, please.
Second.
Second. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion's carried, and we will proceed at the public. Thank you very
Okay,
much,
thank you.
Derek. That concludes today's meeting on the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management.